And I am live. Okay, I'll go to my comments here. All right. One of the biggest questions that I get a lot when we go to events or signings or whatever conventions, one of the biggest questions I get is where do I come from? Not just me, but where did the studio, where did the idea of Jeff Balke Studios come from? I mean, it's pretty simplistic, right? I mean, just it's your name added and studio added. No, it's a lot deeper than that. It's a lot deeper than that. Um, Let me take you back, uh, not too long ago, a few years ago, but let me take you back. I was actually at a convention and down in Fort Lauderdale, and this show had a fun time at the show. I mean, it had nothing to do with the show itself. I woke up. It was a Saturday morning, so it was like the busiest day of a convention, and I woke up and I felt like I was having a panic attack. Now, I never had one, so I didn't know exactly what it was, but I looked over to Brandon and I asked him, like, what exactly is a panic attack? And unfortunately, he's had a couple when he was younger, so he kind of knew a little bit more than I did about it. Um, so he's kind of telling me, and I'm like, wow, that's kind of what this feels like. And I just got real angry. I mean, I just got furious, and I'm like, no, I'm not going to go. I'm not doing this. This is not happening anymore. I don't want to do this. And he's like, whoa, 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 what happened? This is pre-coffee, by the way, but it wasn't the anger of not having coffee that was coming through. At this particular point, I think we were on our 12th convention in a row, literally 12 shows, maybe 10 or 12 shows. We were on consistently, consecutively in a row. So this is our 10th week. And there was a 1 week break that was coming up. When I told them, I'm like, I don't want to do this anymore. The following week, the next show after Fort Lauderdale was New York Comic Con. I just sat up and I said, no, I'm not doing that show. I can't go. Brandon, of course, is sitting there talking to me, trying to like calm me down, relax me, um, and says, well, let's go. Well, why don't we talk about this tonight when we get back from the show? And I'm like, I don't want to do this show either. I'm just done. I'm done. I'm through. And he was nervous. I mean, he was very nervous. He didn't know what was going on, and I didn't know what was going on. And but he's trying to calm me down as much as he can, And unfortunately, we didn't have. I was a big Starbucks fanatic back then, and there wasn't a Starbucks in that hotel. We had to kind of go over the bridge and kind of through the woods to grandmother's house we go. No, but we had to literally go over the bridge and probably about a good maybe 10 blocks, 8 blocks, and there was a coffee. There was a Starbucks there, and so it would have taken him a little time to kind of relax me. We still went after we talked and like a little bit in the beginning. But I told him, I said, Brandon, I don't want to do shows anymore. I'm done. I'm done. I don't want to do it anymore. And he says, why? What's going on? I said, you know what? I'm so frustrated. I'm so furious. I don't know. I don't know which way is up. We have been doing this now for 5 years. At that time, again, about 40 shows a year. And it was my breaking point. It really was. I mean, I really had enough. So I called and I canceled New York Comic Con, my appearance at New York Comic Con, which is one of the shows you don't want to cancel because there's so many people that are there, so you don't want to cancel that show. I didn't have a choice because I felt like I was going to lose it. I just, yeah, I really needed a break, and that basically really was my breaking point. I think it was probably about a year, maybe about a year later. We're kind of finishing out all the tours and all the shows that we said that we were going to do for a couple of years because, oh, by the way, I did do shows after that. I took maybe 3, 4 weeks, about a month off, and then we just got right back on the trail. But I was calmer, I was a little more relaxed, but I was still very stressed out, way beyond belief, and I've never been like that before in my life. Um, so we did go back to shows after about a month. It was about a year, maybe a year and a half later. It was during MegaCon. I sat up in the bed and I just looked over to Brandon and I said, you know what? I know what I want. I know what I want to do. I want my own studio. I want my own animation studio. And he kind of rolls over, huh? I mean, he's not awake. I mean, he didn't, pop out of bed when I did. I mean, the poor guy's still sleeping basically. But I'm just like, I want my own animation studio. Okay. And then he just rolls over. That was my whole conversation with Brandon because if you've ever met Brandon, you know how much of a talker he is. So that was kind of the beginning of the studio. And what a great place. We were at MegaCon. So we were in Orlando, Florida. One of my favorite all-time places to be. The atmosphere, the weather sometimes, but the weather at the time, I mean, was perfect. Disney World is right there. That was kind of the biggest draw for me. So after the convention, we stayed for a few extra days and we went to Disney. And as we're walking around, I'm looking at everything in a different way. I'm not just looking at Disney as, oh wow, yeah, that's cool. Oh wow, yeah, that's cool. No, I wasn't looking at it that way. I was looking at it almost through the eyes of Walt. Now, Walt never went to Disney World, of course, unfortunately. Um, Roy, his brother did, of course, but um, I was just looking at it in a whole different light, going, "Wow, this over here. Now I can do something like that, or I could do something like that." We came across the animation building, which technically wasn't animation it was at Magic Kingdom, and we were as we're walking down Main Street. On the right hand side, there is the Art of Disney. And it is such a cool, if you've never been inside there, it is such a cool place to be. If you're an artist of any kind, in all honesty, especially if you're an animator or you're an illustrator or an artist in general, painter, an inker, a colorist, that is a really cool place to go because the vibe is just phenomenal. If you ever need to just kind of build up, kind of get some uh, juices flowing, your artistic juices flowing. The art of animation, in my opinion, the art of animation at Disney, it doesn't matter which one you're at, it's a fantastic place to be because you can feel it. So we're walking around, and then of course we're walking in there. We go to Haunted Mansion. We go to some of the rides, like some of our favorite rides, and I just saw everything in a different light. Saw some books. I actually bought some of the books that were right there, like the Art of Walt Disney or Art of Disney. It's a big book. You can't really see it, but you can see it. You see where the G is on beginning here. Let me try to find it. There. Oh, you see where the G is? Like right underneath that. That's one of the books that we bought from there, like the Art of Disney or something like that. And it just blew my mind. Now, I haven't illustrated or drawn anything in literally right now at about this time, probably in at least, see, I graduated 24 years ago from high school, probably 26 plus years. Yeah, so a long, 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 long time. But that's okay because there's a lot of people out there who can draw a hell of a lot better than I can. And I'm okay with that. I'm okay with saying that. I'm not going to be one of those guys that's going to be like, well, I'm the best artist in the world and, I'm going to draw something and I could never get better from this point. Unfortunately, I do know a few people who have said that. Um, yeah, those are the people got to watch out for. But I wasn't like that. I had ideas. I have ideas. I have stories. I have characters. That's what I wanted to get out there. So I wanted to work with people who are better than I am, who are better than I am, at putting these characters out there, getting them to look fantastic, getting those stories out there that are in my head, but maybe also work with co-writer, co-story person and actually put these stories together and have them make sense and put them out there in the world. This is all what I was thinking about. Of course, the animation process. Which way am I going to go, digital or cell? Who am I going to contact? Who do I talk to? Well, that's where it gets interesting because unfortunately, I didn't know a lot of people. I knew a lot of people, but I didn't know a lot of people in the animation business. So it's like, well, who do I talk to? I know one person, so I called my friend Dave, And I said, hey, didn't you know, I know you know a lot of animators, but do you know of any animators that are kind of looking for like to do animation, sell animation? And he said, yes, there's one. And he told me it's Rick Farmelo. Talk to Rick. Rick has a great, oh my gosh, this man is just phenomenal. He's got a really good portfolio. I mean, he's worked on Aladdin. He actually, precisely, he worked on Abu and the Elephant Abu. He worked on Scuttle from The Little Mermaid. He also worked on, I mean, he's worked on a lot of, but he worked on Beauty and the Beast. I think it was Lumiere. I don't think it was both Lumiere and Clocksworth. I think I screwed up his name, but I know Lumiere for sure. I mean, but he goes on for like 35 years, plus years, being in the industry. And, this man is just fantastic. So I had the opportunity to work with him and we were working on animation together. Unfortunately, things kind of just, because I didn't know what to say, I didn't know how to say certain things. Um, Things kind of got a little bit, not between him and I, but I mean, I asked him for animation. Okay. Simple, right? Wrong. He did exactly what an animator does. He basically did, out of 24 frames a second, he basically did like 1, 6, 12, 18, and 24. Okay, that's my fault. That's my fault. So now I have these pages of his original work. I have these pages, but I just have the key frames. I don't have the in-betweens. That's where I was messed up. That's where I screwed up. It's like, okay, that's my first major mess up at the time. That's my first major mess up that I've ever made because I said something incorrect. Not his fault. That's my fault. So after that, he started working on it. And then he went back to Disney for a little bit. He started working on something. Then he was doing a Netflix series. So he got pretty busy like right afterwards. And I know that's one, he wouldn't lie to me, but two, he's actually got the work to back him up, so it wasn't like, oh, Jeff, he lied to you. No, 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 no. It wasn't that at all. It wasn't that at all. He literally got busy, but um, he's someone that I can still go to and I can ask questions to. And so he was part of the research that I was doing. And there was another Disney animator I went to and I was asking questions about, like, well, what about this? And how do you do this? How do you do that? And his name was Mike. And he's worked on also a ton of stuff, even Secret of Nim. I know that's not Disney, but he's worked on Secret of Nim. He's worked on um, The Prince and the Pauper, Mickey Mouse, Prince and the Pauper. He's worked on Hercules, probably one of my favorite Disney animations films. But he's worked on a lot of stuff as well too. So I've got two Disney animators that I'm chatting with. One I've kind of worked with, another one I'm trying to work with, but things kind of fell through, unfortunately, there. So I'm thinking in my head now, like, well, maybe my studio, what we need to be doing is sell animation. Hey, what's up? Maybe we need to do some just regular classic cell animation and keep it cell animation. I'll keep the tradition alive as long as I can. And that's a great idea. I talked to one other person on Facebook, and he and I were talking. We didn't talk in length, but we kind of talked deep, put it that way. And he told me, he says, if you want to get into that, that's fine, that's great. There's a lot of people who never switched over from cell animation to digital, so you're going to find a lot of guys, but they're all older. So all the older guys, they're basically kind of like right at the cusp of like being retired or wanting to retire. So they're really not going to want to put all of their full-time efforts because they know what they know what's in there, like how much time it takes to actually do a cell animation because they did it. But a lot of the guys just don't want to give all their time. They want to sit back, they want to retire, they want to enjoy, the rest of their life. And it made a lot of sense to me. So that got me thinking about a lot of other stuff. Okay, well, what if I tried cell animation in a different way? What if we did it all digitally, but we still like digital cell animation? Basically you're putting two things together. So it's digital, but you're doing it all on the computer, like with a Cintiq or any tablet that people might use. And I'm like, well, that might work. Still, every single cell is being drawn just on the computer, and because that might speed up the process a little bit. So I'm like, all right, well, I'll try that. And I went back and forth on both of these for such a long time. And then I came to the realization, talking to some of the, I don't want to say old guys, but talking to some of the guys who've been out there and who've done cell animation for so long. Um, Talking with some of them, they said, if you kept it around, you just kind of kept that cell animation look around, you're that's special. That's definitely special. Now this is within the first year of me coming out with the studio. So 2014, 15, right in that area. And so I told myself, and I kind of made it my thing. And so I'm like, all right, so any animation we do from 2 minutes and under is going to be all done pencil and paper. So almost like your traditional cell animation. However, the difference is we're going to scan it into the computer and we're going to color it digitally. I'm not going to give away all my little secrets, but but I actually have that up on my site and everything too, kind of talking about that briefly, like what I just told you guys. And so now it comes down to, all right, well, I got this really cool idea. So now I'm just thinking of the pretty pictures. When I worked in the comic book industry, it was the same thing. I didn't think about the stories. I didn't think about the script or anything like that. I was only thinking about the pretty pictures. And it took me a long time and a lot of headaches to really figure out that, yes, that is important. But what's more important is that story. And I'm going to jump ahead a little bit here. So just last year, and you guys know this because I posted this a few different times. Just last year, we came out with our very first comic book, Stanley's Ghost. And I worked side by side with Paul Story, awesome writer. He's worked a lot with DC. He's done a lot of like the cartoony type writing, so he kind of gets it. I had the story in mind, so I brought it to him. He and I kind of worked off each other, and we came up with this great story of Stanley's Ghost. And it came out through Storm King Productions, but they have a kids line, which is actually called Storm Kids. So they have a lot of like horror, like that kind of stuff. John Carpenter's like horror type stuff. But then they also have a kids line where they want to make it kind of a little bit lighter. They don't want it as gory at all. So I was asked to actually have my book go out through them, and I thought it just worked out perfectly. It was kind of a combination. Like they asked, but I also asked them, and it was kind of it was a great time for that to happen. So coming up with the story, it's like I had a great time. Like the whole process of the book, I thought was really, really sweet. And I think the same thing about animation. I think the process of animation is so fun. Now, have I done the full process? Well, no. Have I seen and have I read about a lot of the process and all the documentaries and stuff? Yes. Probably like you. I mean, I've seen so many and I've read. There's only so much you can read, but about the same thing. The same thing with watching the videos. It's kind of the same thing. It's just such a fun process. And when we were putting the book together, I loved it. I loved it. I did the coloring on the book, so I was still kind of like the lighting director. That's what colorists a lot are called in the comic book world, because we're going to get the highlights and the shades and get the background, make it creepy or make it all happy, whatever the case is, of whatever that particular page or panel or book is, we make it that way, and the shading and the shadows and all that kind of, it's just really, really cool. Um, Forgot where I was going with this. Oh, so sorry, I kind of went off on a little tangent there. But with the story, I had a lot of fun with it. The whole team, we all had a great time with it. We release it. It does okay. It does all right. But then earlier this year, not that long ago, as you know, again, because I posted it a few times, Stanley's Ghost became an Eisner nominated comic. Whoa. I mean, that's awesome. That's fantastic. So this little story that I had in my head that I really wanted to get out there, that both Paul Story and he was kind of pulling teeth a little bit with me. But this story that we created and we worked on together actually got Eisner nominated. I mean, how cool is that? That just means that kind of put everything in perspective of what I wanted to do and what I need to do. Yes, pretty pictures, absolutely. They really do count. They count for a lot. But if you don't have a story, a good story to go with those pretty pictures, that was kind of weird because I thought I saw like a flash and I saw it on my screen and saw it behind me. That was kind of weird. If you don't have a good story, it's not going to really work well. It just won't. It won't. So that's why I'm very, very, very excited that the book is nominated. I'm absolutely in love with it. We're working on our second book right now, and then possibly a third. I think actually not possibly, but there's a third that's going to be after that. All one shots. But that again speaks a lot because I remember walking around Disney going, well, I want to do this, I want to try this, the pictures and this and that, and then now years later I'm like, you need a good story, and I've got them. I do. They might have to be refined a little bit, kind of pick here, pick there, but I do have the stories. I've got the characters, and I know what I want. I know what I need to do. I post a lot about merchandising and prints and this because I'm funding all of this out of my own pocket, which is why it's taking forever for me to get an animation done. It's not cheap. It's not cheap at all. Now I have a I have a specific way that I actually want to get these animations done and how I can do them pretty pretty easily, and that's what I'm working towards. So step one, what am I doing? I'm actually working on, well, not me, but I have a cartoonist right now working on the model sheets of the 6 characters. So that's the most important thing. And then you can start kind of like start putting everything together after that. I'm not going to go into too much detail because I'm going to wait for the next, I'm going to do one more video of the beginning. There's going to be probably a few of them, but I really wanted to kind of share with you guys, like, where did the studio come from? Where did we come from? And it really happened when I completely went nuts at a convention, and I don't mean it like that, but I mean, I just had enough, doing, 5 years. We did more prior to that too, but for 5 years, 40 shows a year, that's a lot of shows. That's a lot of shows. And we would drive to all the conventions, even Canada. So Sandy, we right here from Wisconsin, so we'd go, to San Diego, we go to Orlando, which our car kind of just goes there now. New York, you name it, Utah. I mean, you name it. I mean, we went all over. Washington, we went all over the place, driving, and that was the coolest part. I got a lot of inspiration from that. I we even took a train from Milwaukee to I think it was Seattle for Emerald City Comic Con one year. And I will tell you right now, anybody it doesn't matter where you live, if you can take a train and honestly go west from wherever you are, I mean, unless you're in California, then that's, or like somewhere like Vegas or somewhere that's kind of, that kind of defeats. But if you live in the Midwest, you live in the East, take a train out west. Go to Seattle, go somewhere, go to San Diego, go to California, go anywhere, go to Vegas, go anywhere and take a train. I'll tell you what, it really was enlightening for me. Seeing a lot of the stuff that we've seen, oh my gosh, talking to the people on the train that we've talked to. Okay, so one more real quick thing that really kind of sparked a character, which I'm going to be creating soon. But again, I'm not going to go into a lot of detail, but I'm sitting and I'm talking with the gentleman on the train. Now, in our car, There were only about 4 or 5, maybe 5 people grand total, Brandon and I plus 3 others. This gentleman comes on, and he's actually like the sixth, maybe the fifth person. And I mean, he is a talker. I mean, he is just, and we didn't exactly know like if this guy was ever going to shut up, you know. But I'll tell you what, he sat in the front. I was sitting in the front, but on the opposite side that he was at. And he looks over to me and says, "Hey, you look like you're going to be a professional one day." And I'm like, "What?" He's like, "You have a really good aura about you." And I'm like, "Oh, okay." Ooh, do, 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 do. And but he says, "No, you have a really good aura about you, and I can see you living for a long time." And I'm like, "All right, I got to find out who this dude is. Is he like like a devil worshiper? Is he a spiritual guide person? Is a medium? What is he?" So I sat down, literally sat down behind him, and we started talking. And then eventually, after a little while, I actually sat with him. Yeah. So this gentleman is, sorry, the noise in the background is my dog scratching himself. Benny. Okay. So this gentleman, oh my God, it's just so incredibly cool. Um, I can't remember, I'll remember his name eventually, but I can't remember. He is actually part of an Indian tribe. He is one of the elders. He was, if I showed you a picture of this guy, you would not believe how old he is because he looks like he was probably in his early 50s. Guys, he was pushing 90 years old and he looked like he was in his early 50s. Oh my God. It was spectacular. I got goosebumps just talking about this. So we're sitting and we're talking. He says, "Well, I'm an elder tribe of," and it's not the Sioux Indians, but it's like a cousin or something of the Sioux Indians. And he was actually going. There was a family gathering going on, so that's where he was going, and he just decided to take the train versus fly or drive. And I think we talked in that chair for probably in that seat for probably at least a good hour and a half, which is as long as his train ride was. And but this guy was just absolutely amazing. He's talking to me about how long I'm going to live. He says into my 90s. That would be wonderful if I don't start taking care of myself. But he says you're going to live for a long time. You're going to have a great, successful business. You just got to keep your head on straight. Don't worry about what's coming, which is kind of weird because I had a lot of things happen in just a short period of time. Um, that took me to a dark place. This guy was just absolutely phenomenal. I thought he was great, and he was gonna send me pictures of him and his father. His father used to be the sheriff of, I forgot which state it was, but it was just he was just really cool to talk to. So talking to so many different people when you're on a train or when you're somewhere, kind of it also kind of sparks your artistic juices. Because it's like, well, I could take this character, I could take this piece and this piece and this person, put them together, and make a character. I don't know. It is just really, 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 really cool to talk to so many different people because, again, like I said, it just kind of gets your juices flowing. So, I'm going to cut this right now because there's a whole bunch more that I want to share with you guys, but I'm trying to keep these at a certain time limit, and I'm coming up on that time now. But I'm going to have more of the Jeff Balke Studios, the beginning, coming up in the near future, probably either tomorrow or coming up on Monday. So probably tomorrow. But anyways, yeah, so I got really just frustrated at a convention, and I started the studio. And I'll go into more basically tomorrow. So I hope you guys join me tomorrow. These are actually kind of fun to do because I kind of remember certain things here and there, and I'm like, oh, yeah, I remember that, and then I can just kind of come out and I can tell you guys. So, um, oh, one more thing before you leave, since I have just a few seconds left before I hit my time that I want to try to hit. But I do the merchandising again because I'm trying to fund all this myself. I don't have somebody giving me all the money, and because that's a question that I get every so often too, even here on Facebook or wherever, somewhere on social media. Like, well, why are you always posting about this, that, and the other? Post about animation. Well, I'm trying. I just got to get the money so I can pay people to do the animation so I can get them out there for you guys to enjoy. So, yeah, it's kind of like a double-edged sword kind of a thing, like a whirlwind. I have to kind of keep going through. So, but anyways, guys, all right. I will be back tomorrow, and I'm going to talk about more of Jeff Balke Studios, the beginning, and kind of just take these in a couple of different parts. So hopefully you guys will enjoy them. Check it out. And also don't forget to check out balkestudiosart.com. Please go and check that out. That's where all of our different artwork is, including the comic book Stanley's Ghost, which you can buy right there for only $5. And of course, they all come signed. Had to do a little plug. Come on now. And I look forward to seeing you guys hopefully tomorrow too. So thank you very much for being here, sharing, caring, liking, all that kind of stuff, guys. That really does mean a lot to me. And I do hope to see you at some upcoming conventions, which I will also talk about tomorrow during the beginning part 2. So, all right, guys, take care, and I will talk.